We're going to be talking about spoilers for Season 2, Episode 1 of His Dark Materials, now out on HBO. If you haven't seen it yet and you don't want anything spoiled, don't watch this video. Go watch the show and then come back. At the end of the season, I will do a spoiler-free review of the entire season. But for now, I'm just going to go episode by episode and we're just going to talk about what happened. So, that was your warning. Now, me personally, I'm into the darker shades of fantasy and horror and things like that. But I also have two little kids, right? I have two children. So I am occasionally going to talk about family friendly fantasy that we can all watch. Family friendly fantasy. Family friendly fantasy. That's not a tongue twister, but I don't know. It kind of feels like it. Anyways, so season 2 starts off with Lyra and Will meeting up in Cittàgazze. I have no idea if I'm saying that right. I hope I'm close. But they meet up in Cittàgazze because they both escaped their own worlds. They've stepped through a portal and they're here. They start off there and they're walking around this empty neighborhood trying to just figure out where they've landed. And then it cuts to this power struggle in the Magisterium, where Miss Coulter, Father MacPhail, and Cardinal Starrock are all kind of arguing. And then we briefly see Lee Scoresby, played by Lin-Manuel Miranda, cruising in his air balloon. So it kind of checks in with everybody just to kind of show you where they're at. But I think my biggest gripe, and I like this series, my big gripe with it is the pace is so slow. Or it's just a little too slow. And I get, okay, we have to check in with everybody. And we do, okay. And then so throughout the episode, Lyra and Will kind of get to know each other. Develop a little chemistry. You can tell once Will's like, you know what? Maybe we should stick together. She's like, yes. And she feels it in her soul because Pan is like, yeah, awesome, great, perfect. Lyra and Will's storyline for episode 1 is just them getting to know Cittàgazze. They run into Angelica and her sister, Angelica, who's played by Bella Ramsey, who was Lyanna Mormont in Game of Thrones. And she was, a total badass in Game of Thrones. So it's good to see her pop back up. In this one, you're not going to like her as much. She's very unlikable. And her and her sister and some friends are torturing some cats. And they say it's because of the specters. And they keep hinting at these specters, and you don't really see them in the first episode. You just kind of know they're there. If you've read the books, I'm sure you know about them. Me personally, I only read the first couple chapters of The Subtle Knife, so I kind of want to watch the show without reading the books, which is usually totally backwards, because I think it's always better to read the books first and then watch the movie. But in this case, I feel like the pacing is a little slow, so I need that extra tension, I need that extra mystery. Lee Scoresby, who's really barely in this episode, he just kind of pops up here and there. This episode focused a little more on the witches, and you could tell this season they're going to play a much bigger part than they did last season. Apparently, this is all leading up to a big war between the Magisterium and the witches. So you have Mrs. Coulter interrogating this one witch in particular, and she's giving up exposition, giving up Lyra's name, and starting to reveal the prophecy surrounding Lyra. And then one of the queens of witches, one of the queen witches, I think there's multiple queens, she flies in and she kills her. And it's like, why didn't you save her? You probably could have saved her. I don't know. It just seemed like a weird move. I feel like she could have easily flew in there, shoved Miss Coulter aside, and then, she killed everybody on her way out. Nobody stopped her. Nobody came close to stopping her. She's too fast, too magical, and she just starts spinning around and nobody could touch her. So I'm very confused as to why she didn't just save the witch. It seems like that was as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, she killed her. And then I was like, oh man, maybe she needs to escape really fast. But then she slid down the hallway and killed a bunch of the guards. Then she killed the cardinal, stabbed him, well, almost killed him. And it looks like Miss Coulter's gonna finish that. But she stabs him in the chest and then leaves. They don't come close to catching her. And I don't know what Miss Coulter doesn't have any like supernatural ability. She didn't really have much. So I don't know, it was a little confusing. That part was a little like, why? But whatever. I guess it's like one of those things we just have to ignore and then keep pushing forward. So then you have Mrs. Coulter attempting to make peace with Father McPhail. She tries to make a truce with him and basically make a deal saying, "I'll I'll take care of the cardinal. You'll be the next cardinal. Then let me do whatever I want. I know you want the power, and you'd be good for it, and I want to do whatever I want. So it's a win-win." And he basically agrees to that. So that's that, and then it looks clearly like he's going to be a pawn for Mrs. Coulter, but also he's going to initiate a war with the witches. The witches, who in this episode basically revealed that they gave the subtle knife to Lyra. They didn't say it directly, but they're like, "Oh, we're giving her this magical, mystical item," and it's like, it's the subtle knife. In a not so subtle way, they gave her the subtle knife. And so Lyra has it. Somehow, some way, I know she has it. So it's like, if you think about the major things that happened, Lyra met Will, and they heard about specters, and they've seen the consequences of specters. They've seen an adult with basically his soul sucked out, or his whatever they do to those people, and he's just all grayed out and in like zombie mode. And then on the witches' side, you can tell they're also preparing for war. They know this prophecy is starting to come into fruition, and Lyra's important. She needs the subtle knife, and they know they're going to be going to war because they're arguing about it now, but they already had to kill a witch who was being interrogated by the Magisterium, well, by Mrs. Coulter. And then you have the Magisterium also gearing up for war because they're about to have a transition of power, and the new cardinal, it looks like in the trailer for the rest of the season, obviously is going to war. So it's like those few things happened. I feel like the episode could have been shorter, and they could have nailed all those things. It just seems like I enjoy the show, but man, the pace, it's like, there's so many moments of just long stretches of silence where it's like somebody says something and then 10 seconds will pass and somebody will say something else. And it's like, I don't know why they do that. And maybe it's just a stylistic thing. They think it's cool or edgy or it helps immerse you in the world. But man, it's like, I almost want to watch it on like 1.5 speed. It's like how on YouTube you could turn up the playback speed. I want to do that. And I think it would be much better. Probably knock out the episode in like half an hour. Because it's good, but it's just slow. I'm definitely more excited for this season. No, I take that back. Before season 1 came out, I was stoked because I remember reading the first book, watching the first movie, and really wanting them to finish the series. And I was like, man, there was so much they try to shove into the movie where I was like, this would work better as a TV series. And then it comes out on HBO, and I was thrilled. But maybe it wasn't as much content as I thought it would be because it seemed like over the season, man, the pace slowed down so much. I was thrilled when the first season got announced. And then we watched it, and then I enjoyed it. Me and my family enjoyed it overall, but the pace, man, like, the pace felt slow this season. However, after watching one episode, I feel like it's going to be even better than last season. And what makes it a lot better for me personally is I haven't read the second book. There hasn't been some huge, big budget movie showing what's going to happen. So I'm going in not knowing much. Except the only thing I think was spoiled for me is that in one of the trailers for the season, it shows the bench. If you don't know what that is, if you haven't read the books, don't worry about it. It's just a huge spoiler. Don't like in this video, in the comment sections, you guys could talk spoilers all you want for this episode and for last season, but but don't talk about the bench. I think I don't really police the comment section very much, but I will hide those comments if you mentioned that, because I was like, I saw that and I was like, ah, okay. I was like, why are people freaking out over showing the bench? And then I, I was foolish enough to look at it and I was like, ah. So that's where a very major part of the storyline is going. But outside of that, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm really looking forward to this season. Um, Overall, this episode did a good job of setting up the season, I think, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Let me know what you thought down below. Feel free to comment about it. Let's talk about it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Until next week, later.